Okay, so last time we tried to address introduction. So I wouldn't know if your chapter 1 is ready now.
Okay, probably I sought for some materials, so I've been able to work on the bag from subsection 1 to 3 for now.
So meaning you have your aim and objectives ready,
Yes,
and you've been able to identify the problem you want to solve.
exactly.
Now, is that for the main research or for the mini project?
No, for the main research.
Okay.
Actually, my mini project is on design of an GSM. Let me try and go back to my file.
Okay, so Umar Ali, you are welcome. So Umar Ali is with us.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
A very good afternoon. Yeah, good to have you around. So is your chapter 1 ready right now?
Yes, I'm saying my research on the topic. I don't have any steady topic. I'm still researching for
Okay.
the main project.
Okay. So have you been able to get some reviews and all of that, probably some surveys to look up in your area of interest?
The problem is the material that I'm getting, they are all in this IEEE Explore, in which they were asking for login and others. So that's one thing that's delaying me. Majority of the material
Okay. So which of the areas are you considering to research in?
is on edge computing IoT.
Okay, edge computing, I would say.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, that's fine. So, and this what we'll do. Uh, as soon as we wrap up this session, which is going to be on your literature review, I would love everyone in this group to put up a quarter of a page documentation of what they intend to do. Okay, probably the research area, just like you said, edge computing, and what you have in mind. Is that okay?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so I would love everyone to do that. So you're going to include your name, your matriculation number, then your option. In case you're in electronics or in communication, then you just provide a brief overview of what you intend to do. If it's edge computing, if it's cybersecurity, if it's IoT, if it's microelectronics, whatsoever it is, you just put up, a quarter of a page documentation. So we are able to provide necessary guidance. If it's to help source for materials, if it's to help get some relevant resources, then we could do that. I'm sure that will be fine.
Yes, sir. That would be a great helpful, sir,
Okay.
to assist us with that.
Yeah, so I'll be expecting your mail on that. So is Mr. Irabo back now? Uh, I think Mr. Irabo had something to say earlier.
So yeah, so I had to go back to my file. So for the mini projects, so I'm trying to work on an Ideon flame detector. That's a GSM gas fire alert, so it will detect if there is a fire
Okay, gas, more like
Yeah,
a gas detection
yeah,
system. Okay,
yeah.
okay, that's fine.
Mm.
So whichever
So,
way you want to also put up your chapter one. So we need to know the problem you want to solve, how you intend to go about it. We want to see your aim and objectives. And then we also want to see your research questions and then look up the methodology you're proposing. Okay, so we're able to
okay.
tell if it's feasible or not. Okay,
Okay.
so
So, sir, so that means for now I shouldn't go further until I can
go
get
ahead,
that.
please. No, go ahead. But
Oh,
notwithstanding, I'll be expecting a quarter of a page documentation
for
of
both.
what, yeah, for both main and meaning. So I'm sure
Okay.
that's what you could compress in a single page, right?
Page.
So just
Okay.
give a
Okay.
brief description of what you intend to do in your mini and what you intend to do in your main. Okay? Yeah, say for mini project, for main. I mean everybody, in this group. So I hope to get that latest 4 p.m. today. So, because we'll be done with this session in another few minutes. Okay. So, okay.
Okay, sir, would mind share your email with us so we could?
Yeah, you have it. You have it in the teaching work plan I sent to you.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
So you have all my
And
details.
okay, that's possibly for those who are not on your teaching, I will share it with them on the group
Yeah, I think
so that they
they should
can
all
have.
have it. Yeah, they should all
No,
have it.
some are part-time students, so they don't offer your course.
Okay, okay, okay. So you want to share with them? That'll be fine.
Yeah, I'll just share that with them.
Okay, it's okay. Okay, so today we'll be considering chapter 2, how to go about chapter 2. But before I move on, do we have any question? Any question arising from the last session on chapter 1? Is there any question, please? Chapter 2. So we'll call this literature review. So what do you understand by literature review? When we say literature review, what do you understand by that? I need to hear from everyone. So we have Israel, we have Oyindamola, and we have BLVCK. I don't know who that is. So can you share your thoughts, please? What do you understand by literature review?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So I think literature review is a review of related literatures on that particular topic. So it's a kind of way of comparing, analyzing, and contrasting different works, similar works on that topic. Then before you now proceed to going to presenting your own methodology and your own results.
That sounds great. Okay. Do we have any other view? Any other opinion?
Yes, sir. So literature review just give us more insights about the project you want to do or the research.
Okay.
Gives like a description about what you want to do.
Oh, that sounds great. So the idea is related work, right? Related work. So the bottom line is we need to know the area you want to conduct your research in. Someone said edge computing. That's from someone. So another could be microelectronics. Okay. Someone else may want to take wireless communication. Someone else may want to take reconfigurable computing. Someone may want to also take power line communication. The list is endless, okay? But the idea is you want to look up what has been done in that area. Okay, so once you're able to tell, the progress made so far, then you'll be able to tell if you will be able to make contribution or not. Okay, and they are really interesting fields, interesting domains, that you could research in and then make your contribution. Okay, and certain topics may sound a little abstract by mere observing the title, but when you go way into researching or reviewing related work, you now realize it's even simpler than you could ever imagine. So the idea about literature review is that we want to look up existing research in this area. Okay, then we want to look up the theoretical framework. Then we want to look up identified gaps. And then with this, we should be good, right? With this. So how do we organize the literature review? So in organizing the literature review, so let's look at possible subsessions. So you want to provide a brief introduction just to begin. So here, you want to tell the purpose of this review, and then you also want to tell the structure, okay, of the review. Then afterwards, you want to provide a theoretical framework. For the study. And this is where you end up reviewing theories and models, existing theories and models, okay? So here we're saying existing. And when we talk about existing theories and models, they must be related to your study area. Okay. So in as much as you pull off these theories and existing models, now you don't just want to mention them, you also want to tell their relevance relative to your study. So this is where it all begins. So it's more like giving a background to what you want to study, but now you are going way into the theories, principles, and frameworks that may have established this domain. Okay? And then once you're done with that, you want to go up to review some studies. So we want to do empirical review. Okay, so this is where you now want to look up prior or related studies. And now you want to look up quantitative research, because that's about what we do, addressing similar challenges. Mind you, you've established the principles, you've mentioned, the principles, the theories, but now you want to look up prior and related quantitative research addressing similar challenge. Then usually you want to organize this in a chronological order, okay? Okay, then by so doing, you always want to highlight the gaps. In the literature. Now, once you're done with that, the next point you want to take note of is the conceptual framework. And when we mention conceptual framework, here you want to provide a narrative presentation of the study's conceptual framework. So this is where you end up telling how these concepts are related. And you want to put diagrams, figures, tables to describe this concept, okay? And then the next thing you want to talk about is the technological review or technology review. So you want to review existing technologies, the tools, techniques that are relevant to this research. So here you are literally reviewing existing technologies, okay? Then you now come to research gaps. So this is where you now highlight limitations or areas not adequately addressed. Not adequately addressed in previous studies. And once you're done with this, you just provide a summary of your review, okay? So in providing a summary of your review, this is where you consolidate all the findings and identify how the research will fill some of the identified gaps. So this is more like a quick overview of what your literature review should cover. But it should be very, very comprehensive. So, but just for the purpose of illustration, I'm going to use a practical example. So let's assume we have a mini project to design and construct okay, let me put up a proper title. Let's say design and construction of an apnea monitor. Okay, so let's assume this is a research we want to conduct, okay? And we already know that since we want to consider an apnea monitor, then this must be a biomedical research, okay? So no doubt it must be a biomedical research. And then we now want to say, okay, well, what is apnea, okay? How many of you, know what apnea is? Richard Irabo, Umar, have you in any way come across this before? Can you hear me?
Not really. Apnea. No.
Okay. So, well, this is just temporary cessation of breathing, okay, for more than 20 seconds, okay?
Yeah, temporary cessation of breath.
Yeah. Let's say for more than 20 seconds. So you want to say shortness of breath, right? And this is critical for infants. So let's assume we want to do this for neonates, for newly born, okay? And statistics, from statistics, you see that there are quite a number of newborns that just pass away, likely because of, this apnea condition. Well, it could also happen in elderly patients. So it depends on how we want to narrow this down. So we are going to be using sensors, right? So it's just a simple mini project, say design and construction of an apnea monitor. Now, why are we doing this, or why do we want to do this? Probably want to have a patent from this. Okay, so it's beyond just conducting a research. We want to solve actual medical problem. For instance, now we've designed the first chapter. So now, how do we go about developing the literature review for this? Design and construction of an apnea monitor, but I have not mentioned if it's going to be for neonate or not. So let's keep the neonates out of this whole idea now. Just design and construction of an apnea monitor. Now, the first thing is, from our structure, we want to provide an introduction, a brief introduction in this regard. So I want you to see how we are able to systematically build around this. So here, we want to provide the purpose of the literature review and its relevance to the research objectives. We want to develop an apnea monitor to monitor the breathing condition of people that may be in such a critical condition, okay? And probably want to design a wearable device so as to remotely monitor these things. So we should populate some database and all of that, right? So for this, for the introduction, we want to tell the purpose of the literature review and also tell its relevance to the research objectives. Then, still in the introduction, we want to also outline the structure of the chapter. So we know now we're already in our chapter 2. And then once we do that, we now also want to tell the importance of apnea monitoring. Okay? In biomedical engineering. And healthcare. So all of these forms good introduction to begin our chapter 2, which is literature review. Does this make sense? So with this, you could slot in your topic, okay? You want to, probably your mini project is to detect gas leakage or whatsoever. I don't know if you want to secure the gas pipeline or vandalization or whatsoever. So probably you want to tell the leakage and the location of the leakage. That will be an interesting project. So if I'm in Lagos and there's a gas pipeline leakage or vandalization in Warri or wherever in the country, then I should be able to tell that, oh, this is what is happening in this location. Probably is able to tell me the coordinate, exact coordinate and all of that. That'll be an interesting project, right? So then you want to tell the purpose of the review, and then its relevance to meeting the objectives you identified in chapter 1. Then you want to outline the structure of this chapter, what this chapter will cover. So probably you want to tell it's going to take care of the conceptual and theoretical framework. It's going to talk about the technologies. It's going to talk about this. It's going to do that and do this. Then afterwards, you now tell the importance of apnea monitoring in your field. Okay, so is it now, though you're in electrical engineering, the gas detection you want to develop, is it for homes? Do you want to integrate it in home automation strategy, or do you want to develop this for industrial use, in sensitive areas or restricted areas? So it depends. So you now want to tell. So we want to know the domain, but the apnea monitor fits into the biomedical engineering domain. Then it also fits into resolving health issues. Yeah, we can do it in electrical engineering. Now, if you don't have a mini project, probably this may just be one bailout for you. Now, once we've done this, then we now want to move on to 2.2, which is conceptual. Okay, let's just merge conceptual and theoretical framework together. So what do we want to talk about here? So probably the first thing we want to do is to provide an overview of the conceptual framework guiding the research. Okay, so here we could probably talk about integrating biomedical engineering, principles. So we'll talk about sensor technologies and also talk about patient-centered design. Okay. Okay. So because you want to remotely monitor the probably heart condition of patients and all of that. So all of these could form the conceptual framework in this case. Okay. And then we now move on to the theoretical framework. So let's assume this is 2.2.1. So in the theoretical framework, which is 2.2.2, let's say the theoretical framework. Now, probably you now want to mention relevant theories or models. Relevant theories or models. And some of them could revolve around signal processing models. Because the idea is this sensor is going to be taking some, is going to be converting some physical phenomena, probably heartbeat to signals, right? Which we are going to interpret with these sensors. Now, you also want to look up some physiological monitoring frameworks. Then you also want to look up design optimization theories. Okay, so with this, you're able to build around the theoretical framework. And don't forget, whatsoever we get to do from the first chapter till now until you complete your research in terms of documentation must be evidence-based, right? It must be evidence-based. So there must be a document to show that you got your information from a verifiable source. So you must cite them and reference them appropriately. Okay? So once this is done, then it means you've provided a general background and overview for this study. Then you can probably begin to narrow down to probably the overview of apnea itself. Okay? Then you want to provide the definition, let's say 2.3.1. You want to provide the definition and the types of apnea. So I think there you want to mention obstructive, central, or mixed, and so on, okay? Then in 2.3.1, probably you want to cover the epidemiology and risk factors, okay? So here, you're going to provide the statistical overview of apnea. We want to know how prevalent it is, okay, in different populations. So we want to know who is affected, okay? We know you already provided the statement of the problem, but we want to really tell the relevance of this study. So you need to provide some data, So you want to tell us, okay, this is apnea. You've defined, you've given the types of this. Then you want to tell the population that is affected, the demographic, you know. So in terms of male, female, their age bracket and all of that, is it only neonates that are affected, or do we consider elderly as well? Okay, is there any vulnerable group and all of that? You want to do that. Then also in this overview on the subject area, you also want to consider other interesting things that may be related, say 2.3.3, probably the health implication of apnea. So here you want to conduct or provide a comprehensive analysis of the long-term effects of untreated apnea. Okay, so let's just put that down. Provide comprehensive. So we want to consider the cardiovascular disease. You want to also look up the cognitive decline and so on. Now you see that at this point, it seems like you are digressing a bit. We are supposed to be talking strictly technology, but now you are now beginning to probably have a little romance with the medical side, right? Yes, that is also very, very necessary, because you are trying to provide a comprehensive overview of the subject matter this technology will be addressing. So you must learn or also know how to integrate that into your research. Probably you want to address that gas leakage. Then you want to talk about, now you are moving into the gas technology, you are moving into, some other interesting critical aspect that this technology will address, okay? More like providing a weight for this. Then once that is done, then you could move into another interesting session, for instance, to review some biomedical signal monitoring in apnea. Monitoring apnea detection. Okay, so we've provided that background. So now we want to begin to pick up gradually, but still moving from the biomedical space into technology, but gradually. And now, probably you want to start with the physiological parameters monitored. Okay, so what are we going to be monitoring? So here, you want to identify key parameters. And this could be respiratory rates. It could be oxygen saturation. Could also be heart rates. So you want to tell why. You want to also tell at what rate. Is it dangerous or is it safe? So what it should monitor, then how you should trigger this and all of that. So you want to tell all of these parameters and the relevance, okay? And then you also want to make mention of the technologies for signal acquisition, okay? These are sensor-based, right? Technologies for signal acquisition. So here, these are the sensors. So are we using piezoelectric, or capacitive devices, or optical sensors? So which of the sensors will you be adopting, or which of the sensors are applicable, okay? And then you also want to tell their working principles. So you don't just want to pick something from a blog. You want to pick these details from verifiable sources, okay? Now, we are still on the biomedical signal monitoring and apnea detection. Then we've talked about the physiological parameters. We've talked about technologies for signal acquisition. Then we could also talk about challenges in signal monitoring. Okay, so you want to mention some issues, okay? Issues like noise. We have signal drift. We have patient's variability. So you want to make mention of, known issues that could impact the monitoring itself, okay? Things that could trigger some errors and all of that, or variations. Then afterwards, so in a new session, you want to now mention existing apnea monitoring systems. So here, you want to start up with what is commercially available, okay? So you're not the first to begin this. A lot of people may have been researching in this field. So what do we have in the market? Because you want to come up with your own prototype. So we need to know the difference. So what do we have in the market? So you want to provide, the details. So here, you want to provide comprehensive analysis of existing systems. Okay, so this could be CPAP, they could be wearable devices, they could be bedside monitor, and so on, okay? So you also want to compare the features. You want to compare some of the features, their performances, and limitations. This is critical analysis, okay? Because it is a review of literature. Now, under existing apnea monitoring system, you've talked about what is commercially available. Then you now want to go up the research. So to tell us what is available in research. So we want to review research prototypes. So what do we have documented in research articles that have been prototyped that may not be commercially available at the moment? Okay, so here you want to review recent academic or laboratory-based prototypes. Okay, and then you also want to mention advances in design functionality, right? And provide an evaluation of these systems. Okay, so with this, we can say, good and fine, you've been able to provide a comprehensive review of existing apnea monitoring systems. You've moved from what is available in the market, then you've also looked up what we have in the literature, and then you've been able to tell what they can do. You've been able to document their interesting advantages or benefits and their limitations. This is going to drive your contribution. Then you can now move on, taking this topic as a case study to another session to discuss signal processing technologies. of apnea detection. Okay, so in this case, probably want to consider filtering and pre-processing. So this is where we now have to talk about techniques for noise removal, because recall we already mentioned that as a challenge in the previous session. So now we want to talk about techniques for noise removal and baseline correction, yeah. So the fact that you've been able to review this will give us enough information that, yeah, when you develop your prototype, you will be able to also introduce a novel noise removal technique, which will help improve your own prototype or your proposition, which would be an added advantage. Then you also want to tell in another session or subsession the feature extraction and classification. So in this case, you want to tell methods used for detecting apnea events from signals. Okay, what are the methods? So this will bring us to time domain, frequency domain, and machine learning techniques. Okay. So once you're done with this, we can now include real-time signal analysis. Okay. Real-time. Where you now have to talk about algorithms and computational approaches. For real-time monitoring. So you're going to exhaust your review in this session also to review all of the related literature. So once you're done with this, then you could move on to another session, 2.7, for instance, engineering design consideration. Apnea monitoring. So here, you want to talk about things like device sensitivity and accuracy. So you want to discuss the thresholds and tolerances in apnea detection, okay? So because you're going to be doing some calibration, so you want to mention this based on what we have in the literature, okay? Then you also want to talk about the portability and wearability, okay? How portable should this be? So what kinds of, what are the shapes or types that we have already, either in the market or that have been researched, okay? So here you want to also talk about the challenges for wearable or compact monitors, okay? What are the challenges faced? And these two will lead to, since we are talking real time, then you also want to look up power efficiency, okay? So let's say power efficiency as a session, So here you want to review techniques for low power design and continuous monitoring. Because if we want to deploy this device in critical settings, then it has to be on 24/7. So what are you going to do about that? How are we going to maintain the battery life? Then you also want to consider the costs of optimization. So here you are literally comparing cost versus performance. Okay, is it going to be affordable? That's in engineering design anyway. Is it going to be affordable? So who's going to be the available market? Then another point you want to, okay, this is going to be 2.4, so 2.74. Then this is going to be 2.75, for instance. Then we're going to talk about safety and biocompatibility. So you want to ensure patient safety. How safe is this going to be? Okay, looking up the fact that you are going to be making contact with sensors, right? So you're going to talk about safety and the likes. So once you've done this, you can see your review is becoming very, very extensive, right? So once you've done this, then you can now come up to gaps in existing research. Now, I must mention this now. Looking up the previous sessions, you were literally identifying gaps relative to those areas or to the subsession topic or to the topic relative to the topic of your subsession. But now that you want to look up gaps in existing literature, now you are going to be considering critical components here. So for instance, limitations of current research or systems. So you want to provide the technical challenges. So do we have some false positives against false negatives? Then we are also going to consider system durability, right? Then in another session, you are now going to conduct your research, or better to provide the research gaps you must have identified, okay? So in this session, you are literally looking up areas where existing systems failed. Okay, so this is critical, so you now want to tell the areas where the existing systems may have failed to meet clinical or engineering needs, okay? And there you want to look up areas like lack of integration with IoT, limited real-time feedback, or better still, inadequate performance under varied conditions. So now you are now spotting obvious gaps in existing technology. Oh, XYZ did this, and well, it could achieve so and so, but interestingly, it could not address this problem. And those were the major limitations. Probably someone picked that up in a chronological order and attempted to resolve this, but left these other challenges and all of that. So once you've done this, then you can now come up to another session to say 2.9, where you are going to conduct critical appraisal of reviewed literature. Okay, So here you want to evaluate, provide an evaluation of methodologies. And findings in previous studies. So you also want to identify areas of improvement, right? Then you want to provide the connection of the reviewed literature of the study objective. Okay, so this is where you now provide that critical appraiser to say, well, looking up this literature, looking up this study, looking up this, well, these are the methodologies they used, and these are the findings, these are the limitations, these are the gaps, and these are the areas that requires improvement and innovations. And then that you will now link to the objectives of your study, which will drive the aim. To say, well, so we now know that you've been able to conduct your research moving from a wider perspective. You were able to narrow down to identify the problem you'll be addressing in the literature, and then you've been able to tie that particular innovation that is needed or sought after to your aim. Then that should conclude your literature review. And once you do this, then you could probably provide a summary of literature review. So this is where you just recap, okay? You want to recap the main findings from the literature. Then you also want to provide justification of the research. Okay, and in providing that justification, you want to focus on designing and constructing an improved apnea monitor. And then you want to link the literature gaps to the research objectives. And that concludes it. Does this make sense, please? Looking up one case study. Does this make sense?
Yeah, this is a lot. Yeah. So, no, yes,
Go ahead,
this is a full uh write-off, you understand? So the thing is that this is in the aspect of biomedics. For
No,
instance, if some
it cuts across, please, because
okay,
you could decide to do this, okay?
about what I'm trying to say is that maybe due to your resource of due to the uh research capabilities that someone has, maybe he might not be able to meet up to this, but if he can have his basic knowledge of this, can someone still work with it?
I don't get that. I'm
Okay,
trying.
you highlighted so many points. You understand? Now, I've gotten so many resources, for instance, that okay, pertaining to just my basic skill and I mean basic knowledge on or research for this purpose. Understand? So if I'm going to highlight my own, what I'm trying to say is that with the resources I have, maybe I might not be able to meet up to this benchmark.
Well, you will. Now I'll tell you how.
Okay.
That's why, you know, well, this aspect, the pattern I followed is one pattern I shouldn't have. Because as a matter of principle for academics, we don't want to we don't want to box you into thinking in a certain direction. So rather
Okay.
sound vague in certain aspect, so you're able to
Alright.
throw in your initiative and create a structure.
All
But
right.
I feel, well, so we provided a general structure, right?
Okay.
So using the apnea monitor is just one of, okay? We said, well, in providing a general structure, provide an introduction, then provide the theoretical framework or the conceptual and theoretical framework, provide an empirical review. We mentioned that. So
Yes.
then we talked about technology review, we
Oh,
talked
yeah.
about research gaps, and we talked about summary of literature review. Now you
Yeah.
see everything I put up here based on the subject area aligns with this structure. But
That is what I want to capture. So basically, my own might be more different, but it's still in this
yeah, it's
step.
still going to follow this structure. There's
Okay,
a
that's what I
template.
just want to, yeah, that's what I just want to capture.
The subset, the subheadings will be different. The subsection head
Different, yeah, that's
will
what
be
I'm
different.
trying to, yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say now.
because they are going to be tailored to your study area.
That's as in I'm trying, that's what I'm saying. The study and the materials I have and my study area with what I have, yes, I will work with these points you've given, the top, I mean the subsections.
The structure.
So there's the structure. So it's now depending on me on how I'm going to expand my subsection to another different subsections.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And interestingly, most of those subsections, you may not be able to get the resources to review in those subsections from one article. So that may lead you to searching and researching. So I may want to say, well, the fundamental theories and models for gas detection system.
Okay.
So that may put me into another line of, study.
Yeah.
Okay. And then once I'm able to review all the existing theories and models, then that could just fit into one subsection.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
I get
So why that fits into one subsection, then I may now want to look up, the theoretical frameworks that exist in this gas detection system. Okay. So that may lead me to another body of, and then on and on and on and on. So if I now want to provide an overview of gas detection, then I'm not going to be talking about the definition of apnea. So I'm going to be talking about gas, what kind of gas, and things like that. And that will pull me into, So at the end of the day, it may not look like I'm going into chemistry, I'm going into chemical engineering or petroleum engineering or whatsoever, but there will be a little digression in terms of building up that body of knowledge. But mind you, you have to be careful not to deviate, because your objective or your aim is the primary thing here. So everything must revolve around the aim. So at the end of the day, you're able to build a very robust body of knowledge in your literature review. So the idea is, if anybody should pick up your literature review, then it should be able to grasp the concepts in that knowledge area in that single document. Yeah, so you're not just putting information, you are putting facts, statement of facts. Yeah.
It's all right.
Okay.
Now I get it now. So
okay. So any other contribution, please, so we could call it a day. Any other contribution? Any other thoughts, comments? Is there anything you want to mention, you want us to know, or you want us to talk about? I think we are just a minute ahead of time now, so two. Okay, so I want to believe some are still in the office and are just staying mute. Okay, so I think at this point we'll call it a day, and my assumption would be that we have concluded chapter 1 and chapter 2 of our research. So hopefully next week I should get your chapter 1 and chapter 2 for your main and mini reports. Is that a deal? Hello?
It's well, you instruct us, but we'll see how we can meet up, sir.
Okay. So I think we'll try to repeat this next week, Friday, God willing.
Yeah.
So we'll look up chapter 3, how we'll be able to go about that, and then see what we can do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I believe so many of us couldn't know that there's a change in the timing for our meeting today. So that's why most of them are not online.
Okay. What time what
Actually, it was on Thursday, but
was it on Thursday? I think we had it last week, Friday.
no, it was Thursday last week.
Really? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So we just keep it for Friday. So
No
sorry for
problem.
that. Yeah.
I will pass the information to them again. So
Okay. So let them know. So probably next week Friday we'll try to repeat this, and then we'll just see how well we'll be able to wrap up in
wrap it up.
another 3 sessions, right? We have
Yes, sir.
methodology, results,
Methodology,
and discussion,
results, and
and then
discussion.
conclusion. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have about 3 more meetings, then we should be done with this and get your reports ready.
All right, sir.
So do have a great day.
Yes, sir. We'll be hoping to get the video.
Yeah, sure you will.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate, sir.
Okay, bye.
Bye.